Hello and welcome. This is Politics Today. I am Deji Badimasi, and tonight we start off with Edo State, where political campaigns for the July 14 governorship election has now reached fever pitch. One issue that is now a political hot topic in that state is a controversy surrounding a construction work going on at Governor Adams Oshomale's private residence in his hometown of Iyamo in the Northern Senatorial District of the state. The opposition PDP in the state is raising serious dust over the issue and wants the governor to answer some questions. The party described the construction as a massive mansion and that the governor should be asked where he got the money from. Here's what the PDP chairman in the state, Dan Obi, said at a press conference the PDP called over the issue.
I'm sure you've seen his private residence before he assumed office. I'm sure you were shocked at the pictures that were displayed in Compass newspaper yesterday. Of course, why this could be shocking to you, to many, they have since seen through the fraudulent and fake posture of the governor. We are also aware that after coming into office as governor of Edo State, his status changed. What you people normally refer to as levels have changed. Even his private residence in Iyamo has changed. So that is exactly where we are. You will agree with me too that we have since discovered that this is a one-man show government. The actual slogan that would be befitting to really capture what the governor is doing in Edo State is let Oshomole lead. The people have not said what he's doing. And when you drive through the streets of Benin City, if the governor is expanding an existing road, it will quickly put up a signpost saying taxpayers' money at work. When he's creating a drainage or a walkway, he will also erect a signpost saying that taxpayers' money is at work. The question here is that multi-billion project going on in Iyamo as his new private residence. Is it taxpayers' money that is at work?
Oh, you get the fact correctly. The house was constructed 20 years ago. Oshomole contested for governorship in 2007, which is like about 4 years ago. This house was constructed 20 years ago. There's no correlation. You know, like we would normally say, they run out of ideas of how to put the candidature of their so-called general. So they believe the only way to be relevant now is raking mud. I mean, you have a country home. Like I, as a journalist, I have house in Lagos, and to God be the glory, I also have a house in Benin. I constructed my house in Lagos 4 years ago. I assumed office last year as a commissioner. So anybody can go to Lagos and take a photograph of my house in Lekki and say, "Are you a commissioner building house?" It doesn't add up. I was in private sector until now. So the issue does not arise. You know, they run out of ideas, and they believe the only way they can be relevant or be heard is by cooking up stories. This house in question was built 20 years ago. So what they cowardly did was to go in a safe distance, and you are shooting an object from different angles. And you're now giving an impression that it's a massive structure. It's a fat lie, like I said earlier. I read through the rag they put online that there's a discotheque. Where is the discotheque? In an unfinished structure. You are a journalist. You had cause to visit Iyamo. You can also you can attest to the fact that it is a lie they are telling. And I'm told that their chairman, Danobi, who are probably we want to call a Judas now, has slept several nights in the house in question. When he was still dining with Governor Oshomole, he has slept several nights in that house. And because it suits their purpose now, you will now say it's constructing an estate.
Well, very, very interesting. That was the Commissioner of Information of Edo State there, reacting to the earlier comment by the PDP chairman in Edo State. Now, still on Edo State, Governor Adams Oshiomhole fired a salvo at the direction of the PDP governorship candidate just in the state now during one of his campaigns. I'm talking about retired General Charles Ayavare, accusing him of having a tainted record while he was serving in the military. Take a listen to what the governor said about the PDP's candidate.
With our bare hands, without money, without experience, without the know-how, without the infantrymen, without the platoon men and women, with our bare little hands, we chase away the man who ordained a lion. We chase him out of the state. As we speak, we have banished him from Edo South. As we speak, we have banished him from Edo North. As we speak, we have restricted him to his local government. Then he said, where did I get money? He's going to probe me. I said, look, look who they talk. They say you have deep pocket. Your deep pocket, did it accrue from the salary of the Nigerian army? No. Did it accrue from the salaries? No. What is the salary of a soldier from the day he joined the army to the day he retired? If he has deep pockets, now we know why some military pensioners never got their pension. Now we know why soldiers who are dead are still receiving pension. Now we know that he was detained. What did I say? You must ask retired Charles Ariawe or any other way. What did you do that you were detained by the Nigerian army? So, how many months were you detained for? What were the allegations and the charges against you? He must report.
His accusation that I was detained is a fragment of his imagination. I know he was detained. But let me tell you, I retired meritoriously after 37 years of service. And when I indicated that I wanted to retire from the Nigerian Army after 35 years, I was granted an extension to remain in the Army. And it's for a person who has grown within the structured system of the Nigerian Army. I can tell you that I was never found wanting at every level of assignment that I was given. I won the Forces Service Star as a Lieutenant Colonel. I won the Meritorious Service Star as a Colonel. I won the Medal of the Distinguished Service Star as a Brigadier General. And as a Major General, I won the Medal of Corps Honor of Service, that's the CMH, having commanded my corps for over a period of 2.5 years. And that earned me a retirement letter of retiring without blemish. I can tell you, I served 37 years. I was never put before any court martial. I was never charged. I didn't face any board of inquiry. The records are there to show for it. And it is in the public gazette. And I expect a man of his caliber who has gone through service in that nature to know that a man who has served in the Nigerian Army for 37 years without blemish was never detained one day. Let me tell you, I'm ready for a debate with the comrade governor. But one of the places I want him to have a debate with me is going to be in the prisons, where he has sent our youths who are not employed, who are not skilled, to prison. If he accepts that any other place, I will agree with him, but he must also fix a date. We must start a debate in the prison yard where we can sit face to face with youths that he has sent to jail because he didn't give them employment.
Well, quite an interesting challenge there. We'll wait and see if Governor Adams Oshiomhole takes it. But it appears we're still going to see more mudslinging from both sides as July 14th approaches. Let's turn our attention now to something else. Now, you may say it is too early, but will President Goodluck Jonathan run for the presidency in 2015? Of course, the president has not said anything about that. But is he in any way at all showing any sign that that is a possibility? A group simply known as Concerned Northerners, comprising politicians, professionals, academics and businessmen from the North, believe the answer to those questions are yes. But they argue that the president is not qualified to seek another term in office. They said, should the president make any attempt at all to do that, they would go to court to challenge him. The group says the president is already serving a second term in office, arguing that the position of the president and that of the vice president are considered as one by the Constitution, and that since President Jonathan took over from the late President Yar'Adua halfway into the administration, he is deemed to have served his first term and is now doing his second term. To discuss more on this issue, because it's sure to generate a very serious debate in the immediate future, and now being joined from our Abuja studio by the convener of the group, Dr. Junaid Mohammed. And from here in Lagos, I have Mr. Ken Okologwo, who is a former member of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council. Also joining us here from Lagos as well is Mr. GT Ogunye, a lawyer. Gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for coming on the program. Let me start from you, Dr. Junaid in Abuja. Do you think this president intends to run in 2015? Is that your argument? Are you absolutely sure he's going to run?
Well, thank you, Mr. Moderator. I am not clairvoyant, so I don't read the future. But what I do is I read the present, and I do so not by being funny or trying to be devious. I look at the man's language, especially his body language, and I say, look, this is a man who is not determined, who is determined rather not to leave office come 2015. And I think I need to correct some imputations in what you said. I am not a lawyer. Not even the lawyers in my organization, there are a substantial number of lawyers there. We are not saying that this is the way to interpret those relevant sections of the Constitution which are going to be in dispute. What we are saying is this: we suspect that the presidency and the president are determined to take diabolical liberties with the people of this country, and that nobody has the right to do so, and that the one and only way to get this issue resolved and not allow it to dominate our national politics is to subject the matter to interpretation by the law courts. Once that is done, as law-abiding citizens, of course, we shall abide by it. But it's also not only a question of law or interpretation by the law courts. There's also the issue of honor. I believe in politics as well as in everything else we do. Honor is a very important component in whatever we do. And I think the president is on record, not once, not twice, and his party is on record, as having said that after 2015, the president will retire comfortably into whatever he intends to do after his life, because he's relatively a young man. But we are not saying that we should simply allow him sit in Aso Rock and give interpretation, or he and the cabal around him give interpretation to the laws of this country, and especially when we're talking of the supreme law, the Constitution of Nigeria.
And you've also said that should the president go to court to seek any kind of interpretation, that you're going to go to court as well. You're going to meet him in court, right?
Yes. We said two things. One, we are already in the process whereby a gentleman, a Nigerian who believes he has the locus, has taken the president to court, in effect barring the president from seeking another term of office, a third term after 2015. We also have a situation whereby the president is being rumored, and I don't want to act on that, but I want to be prepared and to have my gunpowder ready. In the event of the president himself, while not relying on some kind of Trojan horse, decides to go to court and ask the law courts to interpret the current issues in his favor, we shall again challenge him. We shall also go to court with him. So whichever way it happens, I think we are destined for the low courts if the president imagines or intends to contest the election in 2015.
But you've also accused the president, or you said that in your the statement now you released as a communique, that the Belgorod committee set up by the president, you know, to look into issues of tenure of the presidency and all of that, that is just a grand design by the president to elongate his tenure.
Yes, we said so, and we have no apology for saying so. The man at the center of it, of course, has recently been bereaved, and we're not going to join issues on him, given what his family has just undergone. In fact, I have sent him a text message condoling him on the death of his wife. I'm not going to join issues, but I have no apology for that, and I stand by what I said.
Let me just read out something you said in your communique, and I want you to react to that. You said, in an apparent failure of this effort, that's you're talking about the effort now at tenure elongation, that it has become clear that the president, who along with his late predecessor, President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, sat a full 4-year term between 2007 to 2011 and currently serving a second term. It means your argument is that, well, since President Goodluck Jonathan took over from the late President Yar'Adua halfway into his term, that it is deemed that President Goodluck Jonathan served that term as effectively his own term, and that he's doing a second term right now.
Well, again, you're reading a paragraph, in fact, a sub-paragraph out of a complete statement. I would say you are taking it out of context, but it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is this: my understanding as a layman, and constitutions are not made for only lawyers. The interpretation must be by judges who are also lawyers. But as a layman, my understanding was that when late Yar'Adua contested the election with Goodluck Jonathan, he did so as a team. So that tenure must be regarded as one. But I am not saying that must necessarily be so. I want the law courts to simply assess the issue and pass necessary judgment. I'm not going to be dragged into who is right, who is wrong, because what you're saying now seems to be an affirmation of what the president's official spokesperson, somebody called Reuben Ebati, has said in a very pompous language, saying that this is common arithmetic, is not law. Now, if it's common arithmetic, I don't know what his grades were when he was doing arithmetic. But certainly, I know there is a world of difference between 4 years and 6 years. If Reuben Ebati or the president would like to convert 6 years into 4 years and give us some abracadabra reason, we're willing to join them again in court. I am not going to preempt the judgment by the court, and this issue may drag up to the Supreme Court.
All right. Let me just ask you to hold on there. And we have a lawyer here who is going to react to some of the issues you've raised. But just before I bring on that lawyer, let me start with you, Mr. Ken Okolugbo. I want to get your reaction to this group, you know, raising serious issues here over the tenure of President Goodluck Jonathan, and whether you like it or not, the controversy will continue to build up as we approach 2015.
Yes, but in the first place, I don't seem to get Dr. Junaid Mohammed very clear in what he's saying. He's neither here nor there. First of all, he says he's a layman. He accepts that he's a layman and he cannot interpret the provisions of the Constitution. And then again, he comes by saying that he would not preempt the president. I'll first of all want to correct one impression. The president didn't take over from the late president midway. He took over from the president on the 6th of May, 2010. Which is, you can assume is 3 years.
Whether midway or
yes,
okay.
which you can actually assume is 3 years. So what he actually had was 1 year. I'm going to go on facts. The facts are very clear. Why is it that today Sylvia is no more the governor of Bayelsa? The Supreme Court clearly said that once you have taken the oath of office as an individual, what happened in Peter Obi's case against Andiuba cannot apply. Because in this case, you cannot have tenure extension when you have won the election. And the Constitution has been amended, if you remember. And Section 137, subsection 1B of the Nigerian Constitution clearly says that if you have been elected twice, you are disqualified from seeking election. In fact, from the interpretation of that Constitution, President Obasanjo can even stand for office again because he has served 2 consecutive terms, and there's a break in transmission. So, I mean, we need to go with facts. If someone like Sylvia, I'm using that as an example, cannot as an individual benefit from having taken the oath twice, how can you now say that someone who never took the oath, having not been elected, he took the oath as a vice president as at May 29, 2007.
But
now joined the ticket. It is just simple logic.
But the argument here is that he also took the oath of president.
As a vice president.
He took the oath of president when he became president.
Yes, he took the oath not as an elected president. He took the oath as a president that was made by circumstances.
But
not National Assembly. Okay. He didn't take an oath when we had the doctrine of...
Is that oath
No, when we had the doctrine of necessity, there was no oath of office, if you remember very well. It was only when President Yar'Adua died on the 6th of May, he took the oath of office.
All right.
So it was an oath that was taken due to necessity. And I must point out here, you see, it is the likes of Dr. Junaid Mohammed that hits up the policy. The president has not said that he's going to run again in 2015. We are barely 1 year into his term in office. We are looking at democracy and looking at the dividends of democracy at play here. We're looking at him concentrating. If we start this debate of whether he's going to run in 2015 at this junction, I think it is pretty too early, if you ask me. Well, in all honesty.
I mean, the Northern Group also reacted. They were just reacting to a statement credited to the spokesperson.
Okay, but if you remember, Sirakus Njoku, a member of my party in Abuja, is in court. Sirakus Njoku has said that, look, the president cannot contest. And the same Sirakus Njoku has withdrawn his case. So it behaves on someone like Dr. Junaid Mohammed, instead of coming and making this whole thing like a media bliss, to go to court if he's not satisfied that the president might likely contest.
Well, I want to believe this is not a media bliss, because this is going to be
no, but that's exactly what he has started. It's going to be a
very tough debate in the coming days. Let me ask you, Mr. G.T. Ogunye, you're a lawyer, a constitutional lawyer. You understand the Constitution very well. What do you make of this debate that is beginning to unfold now?
It's a needless debate at this point. I sat down here and listened very carefully to Dr. Junaid's statement. I think it's an attempt to take politics into the judicial forum.
Yeah, and I want you to give us some kind of legal interpretation now, legal implication of some of the issues that raised here.
You don't even need to be a seasoned lawyer to know the legal interpretation here. If you apply the provision of the Constitution, Section 137, Subsection 1B, to the facts of this matter. This is the first time this president would be in office as a president. The last time he came to office as a vice president, midway, unfortunately, the president died.
But did he take the oath of...
Oath taking,
whether or not
taking is not a factor in determining whether this term is a first term or a second term. Oath taking is not a factor. The fact of this matter is that this president only became a first-time president way back in 2011. That's the first time. Whether he completed the tenure of President Yar'Adua or not is inconsequential. You cannot use that to then argue that that was his first term. Now this one is the second term, and therefore he is precluded from running in 2015. It's like standing law and facts on their head. It doesn't make any sense to me.
All right, let me just ask you to hold on there and go back to you, Dr. Junaid. You heard from a lawyer here. I want to get your own reaction to what G.T. Ogunye has raised here. He's a lawyer, and your reaction to some of the issues raised by Ken Okologo here.
Well, first and foremost, because they are lawyers and they regard themselves as learned to the exclusion of anybody else.
Let me just say this, that Mr. Ken Okologo here is not a lawyer.
As far as I remember, and somebody there was talking about facts, when President Goodluck Jonathan took the oath of office as acting president, he took an oath of office in addition to the oath of office he took when he became Yar'Adua's vice president. This is something that no abracadabra can change. So as far as I'm concerned, that was the situation as I understand it. Secondly, somebody was talking that I was trying to preempt the president. I said in my opening statement that I was looking at what I regard as body language. This man doesn't look like the kind of person who is willing to vacate the presidency come 2015. Now, be that as it may, if taking the president to court was what you call heating the policy, so be it. So let the policy be heated. Because you cannot abridge debate in a democracy and tell people what to discuss or not to discuss. They may want to go back to the days when military connive with soldiers, whether they are judges, or connive with lawyers, whether they are judges or they are ordinary lawyers, to simply force down a lot of what was regarded and is still regarded as obnoxious laws on the people of this country. As far as I'm concerned, if we as Nigerians, or we as members of the Concerned Northerners group, or we, well, they who are members of the PDP have a right to take the president to court, or take a matter to court and seek legal interpretation, there's nothing which bars me, or bars my organization, or bars any other Nigerian who feels that his rights are being abridged from taking the matter to court. There is no big deal about here. The fact that a lawyer says one thing, another lawyer can only say the reverse. So as far as I'm concerned, there is no intention on our part to hit the polity, but we believe certain people in Nigeria feel strongly about this issue, and that the law and the law court must decide, not some kind of people who are sitting in a studio wherever they're sitting from.
All right, let me pause you there and get your reaction, Ken. Of course, you're not a lawyer, and I was trying to point that out to Dr. Junaid Mohammed over there. You're not a lawyer. You're a member of the PDP.
Yes.
But do you, from what they have said, you know, that whether you like it or not, this is not overheating the polity, and that they have a right to debate. I mean, that's something you cannot question.
Yes, that's something you cannot question. But what I don't understand from what Dr. Junaid Mohammed is saying here is, what does he stand to lose if the president decides to implement his constitutional right to seek another term in office? Why this sudden trying to railroad him out of office? Because as far as I'm concerned, he sits down there and says that he's not preempting the president. There's what we call distraction. I have contested elections before, but we're only saying it recently that because of the amendments to the Electoral Act, cases are decided 1 year in office.
I'm sorry.
Do you understand?
Let me just pause you there and put the question you raised now.
Yes.
Dr.
What
Junaid
does he stand to lose?
Dr. Junaid, he's asked a question, and I want you to answer that. He says,
the gentleman cannot deny the fact that I am a Nigerian. As a Nigerian, whatever happens in Nigeria is my concern, the concern of my family, the concern of my group, and the area I come from. So whether he likes what I say or he doesn't like is entirely his own business. And what I want to say is this: there's no big deal telling me on channels television that he has contested election. Well, maybe if he had known a little bit about my history, he would have known that I have contested many elections and I won many.
But he's just asked a question I want you to answer.
An election. And unlike the PDP, we are a truly democratic party that believes in the rule of law and in the supremacy of the Constitution as interpreted by the law court, not by some kind of abracadabra through television and some kind of foreplay. As far as I'm concerned, it is wrong legally, it is wrong constitutionally, and I still believe it is wrong morally, even though morality is not an issue you discuss with anybody in the PDP, because it is a very immoral party. But even if I don't believe that, let's go back to the law courts and let the law courts tell us what the Constitution says and not waste our time on people who are saying we are hitting the polity. If any time a Nigerian raises an issue and he says this issue is fundamental and he believes that his rights are being abridged or tampered with, somebody tells us that we're hitting the polity, so be it. I'm not afraid of being accused of hitting the polity. Before I did that, it was the PDP. Look at their elections. Look at the type of democracy they have. Look at the kind of character they throw into public life.
Dr. Mohammed, let me allow Ken to react before I go to the lawyer here.
It's apparent that Dr. Junaid Mohammed doesn't want to face facts. And I would not want to join issues with someone who doesn't want to face facts.
For you, the president has a right to contest.
He has a right to contest if he chooses to. And secondly, he says that he's a layman. And at the same time, he's reprobating and approbating. He says, oh, he's a layman. And at the same time, he says it's constitutionally wrong. It's legally wrong. And I mean, I don't understand. I don't know what to take from what he's saying. Okay, let's even remove overheating the policy here. How about the basics that we need in this country? Why not he businesses himself with the issue of light, the issue of infrastructures, because he comes from the north. And about reading about you, I know you're quite controversial, but that is not the issue here, because I only Googled you up just before I came to the studio when I heard you were going to be here. And I read a couple of things about you. Nothing personal here. We should be talking about the deprivation our people are suffering. He should be talking about those who are begging on the streets in the north. He should be talking about, I mean, during the campaigns, I was in the airports in Sokoto and it was completely dilapidated.
You have beggars here in the south as well.
Yes, we do have beggars in the south. But he should be, yes, what I'm just trying to say is that the suffering, we do have people, even out, let's even forget beggars. I just use that as an example. We have people out there in my own place that didn't have jobs. You heard what the man said in Edo State, even with what the common government is supposed to be doing there, that there are still a lot of people who are jobless, who are even in prison. You also hear what people are saying out there in Delta, where I come from. So we should be concerned ourselves with, can we provide light? Let us tax this government in holding on to the 6,000 megawatts they say they're going to provide. Look at the issue of fuel subsidy. Do you understand? Let us tax them on bringing the fuel subsidy probe to limelight. Let those who have benefited from eating money that they never worked for be brought to book. Let us make it possible that, these things work. That's what he should be concerning himself about. Not bothering himself with whether the president is going to run in 2015 or not. That's what we're trying to tell him.
I get your point, but Mr. Ogunye, you heard him say that, one lawyer could say one thing and another could say something else. This issue is subject to interpretation from different angles and different perspectives. But do you see the possibility of this issue becoming a very big constitutional issue, a legal issue in the coming days, weeks, months, and years as we approach 2011?
In Nigeria, every conceivable proposition, no matter how seemingly absurd it is at first glance,
are you suggesting this is absurd?
No, that's not what I'm suggesting right now. I'm just saying that any proposition, no matter how absurd it appears to be at first glance, could then assume a larger picture and then dovetail into a major constitutional controversy. Let me concede to Dr. Junai that his proposition is not something that we've had litigated upon before. From 1999 to the time President Yar'Adua died,
so
we know how the sitting president dying.
Yeah, it wouldn't be wrong to litigate on this. I mean, to challenge this test.
Every party has the right to take a frivolous matter before a court. It only takes the pronouncement of court that this matter is frivolous. Okay, so he has the right to access the court. His group has the right to access the court. That's not what I'm contesting. What I'm contesting rather is that, looking at this provision and looking at the facts, this president is a first-time president. The tenure that he completed was not his, it was somebody else. And so when the president died, there was no other possibility than the vice president to assume the position of the president. And that's what the Constitution provides. So if any section of the country now feels that it is expedient, or anybody feels that it is expedient, and that it is better to cling to a straw in order to force an argument and say, look, we stonewalling you, we don't want you to come back, we don't want you to contest, because we already assume that once you contest, you win an election. My advice to such person would be that you are emphasizing that the people are powerless. In a democracy, you have the states, you have the people, population-wise and all that. Why can't you go back to your section of the country, since you believe that the next president must come from there, to prepare for 2015 and ensure that you bring forward a candidate that can contest an election with this president if the party of this president produces him to run again in 2015. I'm not bothered so much about what the president said or what he didn't say when he was gunning for this office, that he wasn't going to run again. That's neither here nor there for me. Anybody could say anything. Constitutional governance is about the rule of law, much more than it is about what politicians say or what politicians do not say. So overall, what I'm saying is that Dr. Junai has a right to litigate on this issue. It's a proposition. If he decides to litigate on this matter, so be it. But as the law stands today, and as I can see, this president is a first-time president.
All right, Dr. Junaid, let me ask you this. Ken here said something. He asked a question. He said, don't you think you should concern yourself with the issue of governance now? Whether or not this president is governing well, and not bother yourself about 2015 or whether or not he will run.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I appreciate what you just said and what the other gentleman, the lawyer, said. First and foremost, it is up to me to take a decision, and it's up to the people I represent to take a decision. And I said earlier, we believe certain fundamental rights of ours, or privileges, like of democracy, have been taken for granted and trampled upon. And we've decided that somehow, if push comes to shove, we're going to go to court. And I still maintain what I said, that it is only the law courts, sitting as law courts, not as lawyers, but as law courts as recognized by the Constitution, who can tell me that what I'm doing is frivolous, or is counterproductive, or even if it's what they call heating the politics. Now, I rest my case, and nothing can change me. On the issue of we should concentrate on the issue of governance, I imagine, and we said so in our statement, that since this president became an acting president and he took a second oath, since this president became president and took the latest oath, he and the cabal around him have concentrated more on finding and finessing ways and means of retaining office post-2015. In a society where true elections are held, where votes are counted and those votes are made to count, the issue would have not have arisen. But what we are seeing here is that it is clear that somebody prefers to continue these Byzantine intrigues, how to win an election, how to rig an election and win an election, rather than actually working for the people. Because if you work for the people, it will be evident. Nigerians are not irrational people. When you deliver, they will make sure that they deliver for you. The fact of the matter is that nothing has been delivered. This government has been wrecked by scandals, left, right, and center. The latest scandal has to do with the 1.3 trillion, which is now being due from the report of the National Committee of the House of Representatives. Nobody can tell me that is not democracy. Nobody can tell me that because that has happened, somebody or some people are overheating the politics. It's this kind of joke. I'm really surprised. We have just had a governor of Delta State jailed in Britain for 13 years. And the man from Delta is telling us how great the PDP is in Delta and how great they are. If they have been doing their jobs as responsible people, we would not have had to go the round way of getting the governor of Delta, take himself to the Middle East and eventually to London and jailed, while here in Nigeria, nothing happened. What is the PDP doing as a governing party in Delta? What are they doing as a governing party in Nigeria?
Dr. Junaid,
don't take us for a ride, please.
Dr. Junaid, I'm going to ask Ken to react to that, but just before I ask him to react to that, for you, this whole issue, is it just about the constitutionality of President Goodluck Jonathan running in 2015, or it's just political that for you, the presidency in 2015 should go to the north?
Mr. Moderator, in all honesty, and I've said it several times, the joker who was saying that he read about me just before he came to the studio clearly was not talking. He knew nothing about me. I have never in my life believed in the rationality of zoning and rotation. I have never believed in it. And I have told many Northerners and many other Nigerians from outside the North that this thing is dangerous, it is anti-democratic, and is not going to work. I told the people with whom I worked during the Second Republic that this thing is not going to work. And when I pointed out that countries who were destroyed by this system of zoning and rotation, especially the former Yugoslavia, nobody had any contrary argument. Was telling me now that I want the presidency to go to the north, that's why I'm cooking up this. I think it's rather disingenuous. As far as I'm concerned, I don't believe in the PDP, I don't believe in the zoning or rotation by any party, whether the PDP or not. And the gentleman who said he knew about me perhaps found it convenient to, for example, not to note that I am a leader of a party registered by INEC called PSP. If I want to make this matter purely a party political matter and raise an issue of partisanship, I would not go to court. I would not use a new group we have just set up to take this matter to court. I can take my own party, in the name of my own party, I can take the matter to court. But the issue is so fundamental. People, especially elites, like this kind of characters you have in the studio, have been taking Nigerians for a ride.
I'm afraid you have to moderate your language.
We are not going to have this indefinitely.
Dr. Junaid, you have to moderate your language, but please, moderation, just moderate your language. Let me get your reaction, Ken, and I'd urge moderation, please.
Okay, I would not use the same gutter language as Dr. Junaid has used. I think actually I would have expected Dr. Junaid not to get exasperated by what I have said. I would rather go into the question he asked. He asked about Delta State. On the 13th of August 2002, I took a full-page advert. I was barely 30 when I took a full-page advert and condemned the Buhari's government. I was very clear on it. I mean, the documents are there to show the records. I signed that document. And we talked about a lot of things that had happened in Delta. So if he thinks that I'm sitting down here because I'm in PDP Delta, I will say that I did not have issues. Then I was not in PDP, so to say. But we had issues with what was happening in Delta. And if I can quote that I took a full page on the 13th of August 2002 and paid for it and wrote about the corruption that was going on in Delta State, then I should sit back here and stand and whatever I say will tell you that I did not just start politics today. Being the chairman of People's Salvation Party, which is a relatively unknown party, of course I read about that, definitely, does not give you the impetus to sit down and actually, okay, I do not want to use that word, sit down and actually address the president of this country, the commander-in-chief of this country. Nobody has said that, nobody has accused him of saying he wants a Northerner to take over in 2015. He just said that. I don't think if you play back any of us, between myself and the lawyer here, none of us has said that he's saying that the Northerner should take over in 2015. And
he too is saying
he's not saying that. So I don't know why he had the feeling that one of us said so. What I will tell him is, as much I can see he's somebody who, he has the zeal, he has a drive to fight for his people, he has a drive to fight for Nigeria. He should convert this into constructive criticism. And like he rightly said on the issue of power probe, I told his line. Yes. The issue of the subsidy probe. I told his line. He should follow that line. We should put the government under serious pressure to make sure.
He should rather concentrate on that.
That's exactly what I want.
Yes.
These are he considers this
he considers this very fundamental, Mr. G2.
That's what I'm saying.
For him, beyond the issue of beyond the issue of whether this government has performed, it's also fundamental to talk about 2015.
I reiterate. I'm a public interest litigant. And I know that the right of access to court is very fundamental. That's a big difference between democracy and dictatorship. The rule of law says that if you are aggrieved, you submit your dispute to court. And so I respect his right to litigate on any subject. But I have said that it is the prerogative of the court to pronounce on such dispute. And so I'm not going to
and you've
challenge
also given
him,
your own opinion
but I have
well.
given my opinion and all that. That if I were a politician, and I know that he's a politician, and I'm vexed by the fact that a president who finished the tenure of a late president and therefore has an advantage of 1 year or so to be a full-fledged president is not only taking another 4 years, but is suspected to be interested in taking another 4 years, meaning that at the end of the day, if he wins another 4 years out of his current term, he would then have spent 9 years in office. If I'm vexed by that, I may be moved to then submit the matter.
But we have to be very clear on this. It is your opinion that this president is doing his first term.
It's his first term.
Yeah.
So if I'm a politician and I want to stop this president to do a second term, I will understand that Nigeria is a multi-party democracy. I will understand that it's reductionist to assume that even a party that's in power, were to, throw up this president as a candidate, automatically that party will win an election. I will then look for credible ways and constitutional ways, to generate an alternative. There's always an alternative. And so it is an emphasis on how powerless the people are, the people who are the voters, to assume that a party that is in power must always be a party in power. It's not happening in Ghana. It's not going to happen everywhere. But it's not happening in Senegal recently. So, and I think that we need to be very creative in the way we deal with the Nigerian democracy. If you just sit back and say that, yes, this is what it is, and so this is what we're going to do, I think it's not going to work.
Dr. Junaid, unfortunately, we don't have much time, but let me ask you this, and I want a very quick answer to this. Could it be a fact that your party, PSP, for instance, is just scared that if you were to produce a presidential candidate in 2015, that your presidential candidate may not defeat the PDP if the PDP chooses to field President Goodluck Jonathan, and that is why you're doing this?
Well, first and foremost, I did not go to court, or I did not indicate I was going to court in the name of the PSP. Why are you dragging the name of the PSP into all this? I said I might go to court because I was the convener of a group called Concerned Northern Politicians, Academics, Professionals and Businessmen. So as far as I'm concerned, the issue is this. We have the right to go to court, and I'm glad the lawyer has at last conceded that right to us. The other gentleman was talking about he being against Ibori, and he has made a pressman against Ibori, and he said PSP was insignificant. Well, I don't know. He said he was not first in the PDP. Maybe he's looking for significance. That's why he moved from the party he was into PDP. As far as I'm concerned, this issue has just started. And I said we have no apologies to anybody. If taking anybody to court, which is our constitutional right, asks some people and they think that we should not overheat the polity. Those who have been overheating the polity are the very ones who accepted, in fact, the principle of zoning or rotation, which by any stretch of the imagination is completely absurd and is completely undemocratic. So as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Chairman, this battle has just started. Those who believe that they can play games with the destiny of this country by calling those who support them good people and people who oppose them and who have a right to establish and they want the court to establish their rights as bad people overheating the polity people, good luck to them. We'll continue, we'll see what happens. But not the PSP, sorry. I have nothing to do with the PSP have nothing to do with this.
You just said something, Dr. Junaid. You called me Mr. Chairman. It clearly shows you've been in politics for a very long
time. Sorry,
and
Mr.
thank
Moderator.
you for calling me Mr. Chairman. There's nothing wrong with that, actually.
It's all right. I hope one day become the chairman of channels. I don't mind.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Junaid Mohammed. Dr. Junaid Mohammed there, the spokesperson of, not the spokesperson actually, the convener of Concerned Northerners. That's a body now comprising professionals, academics, and businessmen from the north, as well as politicians. I'm going to let him go now, and we'll take a short break. When we come back, we will we'll be looking at that Supreme Court ruling now that terminated the ambition of former Governor Timipre Silva of Bayelsa State. Dr. Junaid is not going to join us on that, but I'm going to ask the two gentlemen here in the studio to continue to stay with us. So stay with us. That's what we'll be looking at up next. Well, welcome back. Now, the former governor of Bayelsa State will at this moment, wherever he is, be coming to terms now with the Supreme Court. That's the court judgment, I should say. The court dismissed his suit, asking it to declare him the rightful candidate of the PDP in the past governorship election, which took place in Bayelsa State. The Apex Court ruled that the selection of candidates to represent parties at election is strictly the internal affair of political parties. Now, there are implications on this judgment, and so let me turn over to Mr. G.T. Ogunye to really break this down for us. Some time ago, we saw the Supreme Court pass a judgment in the case of Rivers State, making Mr. Rotimi Amechi the governor of that state. He never took part in an election. Some people have said, well, the case of Bayelsa now is similar to that, and then we're getting a different ruling here. What exactly is going on?
Well, at first glance, a lawyer or even a non-lawyer may worry about the seeming dissimilarity in the pronouncements of the Supreme Court, because the law ought to be certain at all times, so that decisions of courts are not supposed to be episodic. Although facts may vary, but the principles of law are supposed to be one and the same, on the same sets of facts when you are applying the law to the facts. Now, the facts of the Bayelsa matter are different from the facts of the Rivers matter. And by the Rivers matter, meant the case of Amechi and INEC, reported in Nigerian Weekly Law Report of 2008, Part 1080. And in that decision, the Supreme Court said that the PDP was wrong in substituting a candidate that had duly emerged as its candidate with another candidate, so that when the election was held, it was that other candidate that was unlawfully substituted for the candidate that emerged that stood election. And so the Supreme Court said that as far as they were concerned, that candidate that was unlawfully removed, whose name was unlawfully removed, was the one that must be deemed to have contested that election. And that resulted in Governor Amechi being returned to power. And then he took a fresh oath of office and so on and so forth. Now, that decision followed the decision of Ugu and Ararume. And these two decisions were a departure from what had been the decision of the Supreme Court before. Before these two decisions, the Supreme Court has decided in the case of Onua and Kafo in 1983, had always maintained the position that selection of candidates was an internal affair of a political party.
And the court has
that the court will not interfere. But in those two cases that I mentioned, Ugu and Ararume and Amechi and INEC, the Supreme Court, again relying on Section 34 of the Electoral Act of 2006, which had no precedent in the other Electoral Act or law, in 1983, interpreted that section and said that before you could lawfully substitute a candidate for another candidate, you must proffer cogent and verifiable reasons. Cogent and verifiable reasons. And so for the Supreme Court, those reasons were not there. In the Bayelsa State case that we just seen, it was not a case of substitution of a candidate for another. No. What was at play was the fact that there was a primary that was conducted, and thereafter the tenure of the governor was said not to be up. And so the governor then went back and continued with his tenure. Thereafter, the political party then organized fresh primaries. Now that governor was now insisting that the first primary that predated his continuation in office after the court pronounced that his tenure was not up should be the primary that will be reckoned with as far as the issue of determining a candidate was concerned. Now, what the Supreme Court has therefore ruled on is to say, no. The primaries that were conducted prior to the continuation in office could not be the primary. And so, when you look at those two cases, or those two situations,
they are different.
They are different.
Politically, what do you think the implication is?
The implication, I don't think, and you remember we discussed this on this studio, and we discussed this very extensively. It's very clear.
It gives the parties the license to just organize the primaries the way you want.
It's not like it gives the parties. The case here was that the significance was that Governor Sylvia, ex-Governor Sylvia, submitted himself to a process. He submitted himself to the primaries that were to be held sometime in August. After he had taken part in the primaries in January, and the elections were cancelled by INEC. INEC cancelled those elections because the appeal court said they could continue their tenure in office. And the mere fact that the elections were cancelled by INEC made January primaries null and void, because you can't get something from nothing. And so when he submitted himself to the process and he was denied, you cannot now come back and start asking for that January process to be revalidated. It is not right. Do you understand? And politically, the significance here is, we have always said it, if you have every reason to get angry, I mean, there's nobody that doesn't get angry in terms of if you feel you're shortchanged. You must use all the internal mechanism first that is available to you in your political party.
And he did not do that.
And yes, if you don't use all the internal mechanism available for you and you just confront your political party, it will definitely come back
your
to
party, the
consume
PDP,
you.
will be emboldened by this decision.
Oh, It has always been like that.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Mr. G.T. Ogunye, a lawyer, thank you very much for your contributions. Mr. Ken Okolugbo, thank you very much for your contributions. And the attack.
Dr. Junaid should understand that
counter-attack.
it is just
anyway, well, that's it on Politics Today. We thank you very much for watching. We're back again next week. Continue to watch Channels Television. I am Deji Badimasi. See you next time.